Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review. This time it's another Louis L'Amour book. We are talking Under the Sweetwater Rim. Look at how awesome this freaking cover is, guys. If I ever come across in the wild like an actual painting of any of these Louis L'Amour books, I'm gonna have to buy them and hang them up in my house. I mean, they are just that freaking awesome. So just kind of getting into this book real quick and kind of giving you the overview. So this book is about I believe he's kind of like a Cavs scout is what he is. His name is Ten, is how he's referred to in the book. Tenador or something, Tenading, something like that is his name. Essentially, Ten comes in. He saves this wagon. He tries to warn a wagon train. Well, he only is able to get one away because he pulls rank and tells them that they need to leave. Well, a massacre ends up happening at this wagon train. So you have this cavalry unit that come in to try and find out what's going on and whatnot. And you have Ten who's out there and he knows that there's a grand scheme and that there's people out there trying to find this wagon. And there's a reason behind it. I'm not going to get into why that is because I don't want to spoil it for y'all. But essentially you have Ten and this hagtag group of survivors or people that are trying to survive and get help. So while you have them trying to get help and get away, you have these bandits or thieves or whatever you want to call them that are chasing them down. And then you have this cavalry unit that's trying to figure out what's going on and whatnot. So you have a lot of pieces. You kind of see, a few different point of views in this book. This is definitely, it's 100 and I think it was 180 something pages. Really short book. For being a Louis L'Amour book, it's a little longer than some of his other ones, about 30 pages on average longer, I believe, than some of his other books, or most of the ones that I've read. This is a book, there's just so much to unpack, but you really can't unpack it all without spoiling stuff. So I'm going to try to do my best. Again, guys, this is really a book about survival. I know my friend Faceless, I know, he would enjoy this book. I could see Dustin over at Dustin Healy's channel, Dustin enjoying this book. I see Kevin Toll Reads enjoying this book. I see, Hyde and Reed. I see a lot of you guys enjoying this book. So this is my little tidbit out here, throwing y'all's channels out there and whatnot. But telling y'all need to read Under the Sweetwater Rim. If you're not those guys, I'll still read this book. Get this book. This is such an awesome book. There's a lot of gunfights that happen. There's a lot of action. There's some chasing scenes. There's just quite a bit of stuff that's packed into, 180 something page book. This is such an awesome book. I really enjoyed this. This is one, I've read a couple of Louis L'Amour books where I'm like, I kind of wish, there was another book with this character in it. 10 is one I really wish he had written more about. As this book goes on, you find out a little bit more and more about him. The guy was down in South America during the war. He was over in Rome. He was in China. He was all over the place. This dude's resume is just out of this world. If Beau L'Amour were to come across or would have come across, some manuscripts or whatnot, rough drafts with 10 in them, I would pay, those for those books for some of his adventures. I could see Louis L'Amour, in all honesty, having done like a short story collection of just adventures that 10 had been on, just at like random times. That's how awesome he was, in this book. Now, I will say, while his resume is like way above everybody else's in this book, he's not invincible by any means, and that's what I really enjoyed about this character. He is flawed. He messes up. He gets hurt. He's not, I've been in, all this stuff, nothing hurts me, nothing, can hold a candle to me. No, he is just another guy who just happens to have traveled the world. And I see how Louis L'Amour writes some of his adventures that he might have been on and kind of construes it a little bit, for his books. But I really think that 10's adventures were based off of Louis L'Amour's travels. I need to read the Louis L'Amour, his autobiography, The Wandering Man. I need to read that before I can confirm it 100%. And I probably should have done that before doing this review. But I couldn't wait. I finished this book last night, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I'm not going to lie, guys. It took me, quite 4 or 5 days to get through it. I was kind of taking my time with it. But I enjoyed every bit of this book. There's one scene, I'm kind of getting a slight spoiler here, there's one scene where, the bad guy in this ends up joining 10 in like a shootout. And I thought, oh, great. He's going to come over to the, 10 side, and it's going to be buddy, buddy kind of thing. And then, he comes back. He's like, no, we're going to, I'm going to kill you. You're going to kill me. I enjoyed that. I was eating this book up, guys. I really, really enjoyed this book quite a bit. If you have this and you're debating on, picking it up or kind of pushing it off, doing another Louis L'Amour book, I would highly recommend picking this one up. Just so you can read some of the stuff and places that Tin had been to and whatnot. Again, he's kind of a little bit of a flawed character. They talk on that in this book. Not briefly, but a little bit more than briefly. I'm not sure what the term would be. I'm sure somebody will comment down below and tell me. But, they talk about how, he's kind of a drifter. He goes from military to military, place to place and whatnot. Which, I mean, back in those days, that's what people did. He kind of drifted along. They talk about how he's never been committed 100% to one military or one place or whatever you want to say. So again, I really enjoyed this book. This is probably the most morally gray character, I think, that Louis L'Amour has, written about, just because he does move from place to place. He's still a good guy, don't get me wrong, but he's never stuck with one place or anything like that, one military. And again, they do touch on that. But again, guys, Under the Sweetwater Room, I really, really enjoyed this book, like all Louis L'Amour books, and I say that every time, guys. But again, this was such a fun read. This is one I definitely see myself revisiting, but again, guys, I'm gonna just stop the video here before I keep just repeating myself on how awesome this book is. But as always, guys, I appreciate you stopping by and checking out my reviews. Thank you.